Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Respect the Math podcast. I'm your host, David Snyder, and here with me is our inaugural guest, the lovely and talented Miss Vicki Rogers. Thank you for coming.
I am so honored to be here, David. Thank you for having me.
The honor is all mine, and just want to take a few minutes before we dive into Vicki's background and talk about the inspiration for the Respect the Math podcast, the meaning of the title, and what we're trying to accomplish by doing this. As an IT person who dabbles in creative work, one of the things you have to do when managing audio, video, or still images and photography is you have to respect the math. You don't want to, in the process of editing and producing content, you don't want to alter the content any more than you have to, and you also want to preserve the quality. That can be a very delicate process, typically in a digital workflow where you're editing video footage, clipping audio, editing and producing photography and graphic design and other things. So that's kind of where the idea came from. But respect the math applies to everything in life, right?
Yes.
Can you give us an example of how respecting the math helped make you successful both in your previous careers and in your current career? What principles do you have to follow and keep in place to maintain the quality of your output that you're trying to accomplish?
I think one of the most important things that everybody needs to do is make lists.
Okay.
Is to make lists so that I don't know about you, but during my busy day, I'll have 10 different people text me or email me or call me and say, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Could you please do this? And I don't know about you, but it becomes overwhelming, especially if you're in a meeting with somebody else or you've got your mind set on completing a project and you get 3 people interrupting you who need something from you. So to me, I've got to write it down. I've got to make a list and I've got to go through and check them all off each day.
Yeah.
But I'm older than you, so maybe you can remember those things. But to me, I've got to make lists. And respect the math, to me, it kind of means respect the process.
Oh, yeah.
And be respectful of how things need to be done in each genre of work and personal life, and maybe even respect other people's boundaries.
Okay.
So in communication,
What people are capable of, how they want you to say it, and so forth.
Exactly. Yeah, we were talking about that in our meeting, how people want you to speak to them, and it's almost always, it should be always, with respect.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, so
and there's a science to that too. There's a science to everything.
yes.
And that's kind of the underlying idea with respect to math is understanding whatever you're doing scientifically. I have to do it in this sequence. I have to preserve this element of the product or respect this aspect of the process to not alter or limit ultimately my output.
Right.
Yeah.
And you gave me some scientific term yesterday when I was talking to you. Do you remember what it was? I can't remember what it was. You said some word and I go, David, I do not know what that means.
I can't recall that. I don't have the best memory these days, but maybe it'll come back to me. Do you remember what we were talking about specifically?
No, but you said some sort of a scientific term.
Okay.
And I go, you said, do you know what that means? And I went, no, I do not.
That's hilarious. I get that a lot. Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to ask you about your job and your career and your things, where do you see cell phones, computers? Where do you see the future coming up in the next couple of years? What do you see innovative type
Where it's
process?
going.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Well, the trajectory is exponential right now. And,
Right.
And for as advanced as we think we are right now, we'll look back 10, 20 or more years from now and look back and say that was the infancy of the technological expansion.
Yes.
Artificial intelligence is going to be everywhere.
Yes.
Some folks believe it will become self-aware and make us slaves like in the Matrix. There's lots of areas that can go, but I tell anybody, particularly young people, if you don't at least know your way around a smartphone, software on your computer, whether it's Outlook or Excel or Word, be able to do any of that stuff, at least at a basic level. Every job you could ever get you're going to have to do that.
Yes.
So be prepared for it. And as an education system and as a culture and as parents, we're failing our kids if we don't do that. Just setting them up for failure, and they'll be left behind.
Right.
we already see people's jobs, manual labor, being replaced with computers and robots. That's a trend that's going to not only increase, but increase at an increasing rate, which would make it exponential. So, and that's a great segue back to the original origin for the Respect the Math podcast. We're going to talk about business, technology, science, culture. All those things intersect. And in my lifetime, when I was a young man, when your TV broke, you called a TV guy.
Yes.
When your stereo broke, you called a stereo guy, and so forth and so on. In my lifetime, and it's been good for me professionally, all that stuff has coalesced under the umbrella of tech. I can come help you with your TV. I can help you with your stereo. I can fix your computer, and so forth and so on.
I forgot that you can do all that. I'm going to be calling you more.
That's good. See, this has already been a successful endeavor.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so going back to that, there's a couple things I want to mention that we won't be talking about, and that's politics and COVID.
Okay, good.
I have a reputation to maintain, and so do you in the public, and I
Yes.
can't risk getting canceled because of some opinion I have, and same for you. So I will not be talking about COVID or politics out of respect for myself, or even worse, a guest getting canceled. I will make one statement on politics, and it's this. I wish more people who disagree could have a respectful discussion, a dialogue, right, a back and forth, and try to understand each other's points of view instead of insulting each other, censoring them, or ultimately canceling them. So that's my statement on politics and everything else that goes along with that. I want to make one more comment. If you haven't noticed yet, I have a bit of an intermittent speech impediment. I'm a little nervous right now, so I'm sure it's pronounced a little more, but I'm not going to edit that out or anything. I know there's other people out there who struggle with that too, and hopefully with me being brave and putting it out there and not being ashamed of it and just working around it, I might inspire someone else to look past that too and not let it hold them back.
I think you're awesome.
Well, thank you. The feeling's mutual, so thank you very much. And now let's get into the main part of our podcast here. And Vicki Rogers with V Media Group is going to tell us something about, hopefully more than something, a few things about her background, her experience, her careers. You've had multiple careers, and your company that you have right now, and what you do, and how you can help your customers. And yeah, tell us more.
Okay, well, let's see. I came from a small Indiana town, and
Which one?
North of Indianapolis. It's called Kokomo.
Oh yeah, you can't throw that out there and not tell us what city it was. Yeah, they have a big Ford plant out there or something, don't they? Or
Chrysler.
Chrysler. Okay, yeah, good.
They sure do.
Okay.
Yes, and I knew that that's not where I wanted to live. So I knew when I was a young teenager, I'm going, this is a nice little town to grow up in, but I'm getting out of here. I just wanted more. I just wanted more opportunities and diversity, and I just wanted more.
Sure.
So I went to Indiana University, Bloomington, and I loved it. I was there 4 years and got my
Go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers.
Hoosier, yeah.
Bobby Knight days
Yeah.
back in the old days.
Yeah.
I got my undergraduate degree in telecommunications, radio and TV, and then I stayed 2 more years and got my master's degree in telecommunications, which was awesome.
I didn't know that. I've known you for a while. I didn't know that. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Research and management were my focus in graduate school, and it was just great. I did every single job that you could do in radio and TV. I worked at the TV station. I worked at the radio station. I did internships. I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. I wanted to learn every single thing about it. So, and so I've got a lot of experience working on all sides of radio and TV. And then my first job out of college, I was a media buyer for a large advertising agency in Indianapolis, which was very cool. And so
Elaborate on that. I know you're in sales at that point, right?
Media buyer, no. A media buyer is not in sales, this is a kind of a fascinating little story. When you're going to graduate, what am I going to do for a job? Well, luckily I had some contacts and some people that knew somebody that worked at a large agency, an ad agency, and they said, well, they have a media buyer opening. And I'm kind of like, what exactly does a media buyer do? I know the term, but I don't really know. So in case they ask me in the interview, I need to know. So I go to one of my professors and I said, okay, I've got this interview and I need to know what a media buyer does. Yeah. And he said they negotiate gross rating points for their clients and buying media, radio, TV, newspaper, billboards. They negotiate with the different salespeople and outlets.
So you were more of a facilitator for sales, not directly sales. Okay.
Right. So the salespeople from the media called on me and wanted me to buy their particular station or their particular product.
Okay. A broker sort of.
Yeah. So I have to decide which is the best station to buy for my client. My client was Chi-Chi's. Do you remember Chi-Chi's?
Of course, everybody remembers Chi-Chi's.
Mexican restaurant chain.
Bashford Manor, was that right? Here in Louisville?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So I bought 26 markets of Chi-Chi's, mostly out on the East Coast, and Louisville was for some reason thrown into the mix of the group that I did buying for. So that's how I got some ties in Louisville. So
I heard there's still a few of those Chi-Chi's around. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I
know
heard there's
that.
still a couple, yeah.
Well, the fried ice cream is the bomb.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah. So that got you into the Louisville space
Correct.
For the first time.
Yes.
Okay.
And so as much as I liked being a media buyer, the salary was not very good. So I was just getting along. It was my first job out of
I was
college.
going to say, not a bad first job out of college,
Not
right?
right, but pretty poor,
Yeah.
just kind of struggling along. And everybody told me, you need to get into sales. You need to get into sales. And I was like, I don't want to sell. I don't want to be that annoying salesperson, And so
Did you find that experience helped you hone your communication skills because you're so good at it now?
Thank you.
Were you born that way? Some people just
born that way.
Okay, so natural talent, and then combine that with experience and hard work. With a pro like yourself in that space.
Oh, well, thank you. I've just never been a shy person.
Okay.
I was in ballet and tap dancing and recitals and all that when I was a little kid. And
Yeah.
I sang a solo on a stage in a big auditorium when I was 5 years old.
And did you want to do that?
Oh,
or did your
I
parents
wanted to. I couldn't wait to do it. I'm like, get out of my way.
Wow.
How can I do?
That's awesome.
I wanted to do it so bad.
I was the opposite. I was pretty shy.
Isn't that funny? So I was absolutely born that way. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
And then luckily you had parents who embraced that. And,
Yes.
And saw it and promoted it. And
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So I went from, I decided if I was going to get into sales that I wanted to work for the #1 radio station in town in Indianapolis, which is a big city. And
FM?
of course, yes.
Okay.
And it was
Go
called
ahead.
Q95.
Give them a
and
shout out. Are they still around under a different
they
name?
are. No,
Okay.
it's
Same name.
WFBQ, Q95, and it's the home of Bob and Tom.
Oh, of course.
So, and what's so funny is I actually spoke for a University of Louisville class. I was a guest speaker earlier this week.
Oh, nice.
And I was telling the kids about my background, and none of them knew who Bob and Tom was.
Oh, now you're officially old.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
they're
they're still
like-
on the radio. Well,
I
Bob
know.
is, right? But not Tom. It's one of
It's Tom, not Bob.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so I worked with those guys for 5 years, and I was in sales, but I also did some on-air bits with them.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. And I started doing commercials and all kinds of different things, which I did that in college too. So,
Is that where you started to hone your voiceover,
Yes.
musical,
Yeah.
interview skills?
yeah.
Okay.
So I loved it. It was great. And then I got married. I moved to Louisville, had kids, and then after my kids were older, decided to get back into radio.
Had you met, your husband was from Louisville? Is that?
He was from Louisville, but he bought a business up in Indianapolis, and that's how we met up there.
Oh, okay.
He was running a business up there too, so
Okay.
he was living in both places.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway,
And you had 3 children.
yep, and
right?
he sold the Indianapolis business, and we moved to Louisville. So
Okay.
and so I didn't know anybody in Louisville when I came here.
Yeah.
So but
We had some experience with Louisville by doing the buyer job, right?
yes.
Okay, but-
So yeah, I knew just like a few.
Professionally, a few folks. But,
Right.
Okay.
Right. But then we talked about what else I do. I started playing tennis, and that's how I met all my girlfriends.
Yeah.
I met a lot of really nice friends playing tennis. And then after my kids got a little bit older, I got back into the radio gig and was on 106.9.
Of course.
For 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you leave and come back because?
I
don't you-
did.
Okay.
I went to iHeart. What happened was my company eliminated the midday air personality position across the board.
They just pre-record that now, or it's
Yes.
all automated, or
They pre-record it now.
Okay,
Someone
yeah.
else, like the morning person, does half, and then the afternoon person does half.
Okay.
So they don't have a live person in there anymore. So I went to iHeart. The iHeart picked me up like the next week. So I was there for a couple of years.
And what station was that?
I was on WAMZ.
Oh, yeah.
I was on Kiss FM.
Wow.
And one other station. I did some little bits and stories on WHAS.
Did you always had a broad musical palette, or did you develop that working for these different stations? Or
No, I started singing when I was 5, and I started in piano when I was like 6.
Okay.
And then I started in junior high band, and high school band. And then I actually had a rock band when I was 16.
Reason I asked that is I think I was talking about more like, did you already appreciate country and rock and pop and all that before that? Or did working for those different stations kind of?
Yes, working for the different stations helped me.
Okay.
I was not really that big of a country fan, but
Same here,
I
but
became one.
I'm converted. I love it all now.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Different types of music are like visiting different countries or cultures, right?
yes, absolutely.
And I found it helped me relate to people by experiencing the music that they like.
Yes, yes, it's true. Because, I mean, there are so many people, especially in Louisville and, Nashville, that the country music is their life. I mean, it's a culture and it's what they love, and they just can't get away from it. So, but I like that along with everything else.
Yeah. So you're 14 years at 106.9.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing anything outside of that professionally, or?
Yes. One of the coolest things that I started doing because I was working there was nonprofit organizations were asking for MCs for their galas and their events.
You'd be a natural fit for that.
Yeah. And so, and of
It's
course,
a lot of fun too, isn't it?
it's fun. It's a great way. I felt like it was a way for me to give back. To maybe I can't make a $300 donation to this, but I can certainly MC your event for free.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy to do it and talk about it on the air.
Isn't that
And
a great networking opportunity for you too?
awesome. Absolutely awesome. And so because of my work with that, the radio stations at 106.9, which I'm now back on. I have a show on Sundays now
I
on that
know.
station.
I listen sometimes.
So fun.
I try to tune in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They put me in charge of the public service show, public affairs.
okay.
So, which ran on Sunday mornings in like an early Sunday morning type thing. But so I would interview nonprofit organizations and do like a 15-minute segment on them and what their missions are and what they do, and then we would play those on the radio, all 4 radio stations, and just give them free exposure.
Okay.
So, and I was the facilitator and the producer of the show and the moderator. So that was great. So I got to meet a lot of other really neat people. There's so many people doing so many great things in our community, and I love to spotlight those.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do too.
Well, thank you. And it seems like all these things are kind of running side by side. You're developing your professional experience, your professional skill set, but you're also reaching out and building a massive personal and professional network, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I've been in your house before, and I saw all the photos of you with celebrities and stuff. So that must have been a pretty nice little perk
Yes.
of being in the industry that you're in and doing the things you do outside of that and so forth. So
It is. And then being with the radio station, we got to have, first row seats for all the Kentucky Derby festivities and broadcast live from Derby and Oaks, and then
backstage passes to concerts and stuff.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Wow.
So much fun. Blake Shelton is like the nicest dude.
I've heard that.
He is so nice, and he's just like you'd think he was your brother talking to him.
My wife got me into watching The Voice with her, and he is so self-deprecating.
Yes.
He does those little cameos and segments, basically making fun of himself, right?
Yes, he
and
does.
he's so an arrogant, insecure person wouldn't do that.
Correct.
He's obviously down to earth. The guy pumping his gas next to you at the gas station kind of thing. Not afraid to make fun of himself or that kind of thing. So
Exactly. Yeah, he's a sweet doll.
now, have you gone beyond just kind of getting your picture taken with him? Have you gotten to talk to him and know him at all, or?
He invited us backstage before his show when he played here, and we walked in there and he goes, "Hey, would you guys like something to drink?" And we're
Wow.
like, "Yeah." So we got to hang with him for about 15 minutes.
Wow.
So it was cool, and it was right when he started dating Gwen Stefani.
Oh, okay,
So it
yeah.
was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, "So tell us about Gwenny.
Yeah.
How's she doing?" And he was like, "Oh, well." And he just couldn't wait to tell. He just said, "We come from such different musical genres."
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't matter. He said, "We just absolutely click, and we are having so much fun together.
Yeah.
And thank you for asking me." And I'm like, "Oh, you're welcome." I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
both relationship wise and music wise, they've made some nice music together too.
Yeah, they have. So yeah, he was just a sweet doll.
That's great.
Yeah, and he was telling me the story about when he came to Louisville years ago when he was just starting, and he played at Old Cardinal Stadium.
Yeah.
And he
Outdoors.
was like an opener. He was an opener for, I believe, I can't remember who the artist was. I don't want to say who it was because I could be wrong. But he was like the opening act.
Sure.
And the audience liked him, Blake, more than they liked
The headliner?
the headliner.
Oh, boy.
And so after
And were you there?
no, he's
okay.
telling me this story.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, so how do you like Louisville? And this was at the Yum Center, and he goes, this is such a beautiful venue. And he was raving over it. And, to me, I'm like, that's so nice because I know you've played a lot of nicer places.
That means something, yeah, coming from him.
But it was very nice to hear him say that.
Yeah.
But he was saying, Cardinal Stadium, and this dude was so mad at me because the crowd liked me more than him that after his show was over, I saw him. He was standing there and I was standing here, and he started running at me and he tackled me and started fighting me.
Are you serious?
Swear to God, he told
Well, you
me
better
this.
not say that person's name in case we get it wrong. Yeah.
I'm not going to say the name.
We don't want to get sued for libel.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they started fighting, and then, security broke him up. He goes,
Unbelievable.
he was really mad at me. I just
Wow.
thought that was the funniest story. He goes, that's the last time I was in Louisville. And now I'm back in the Yum Center, and it's beautiful.
And hopefully he wasn't attacked this time?
No, I don't think so.
By the opening act? Or
No.
anyone else? Good, yeah.
No. So what a funny story from Blake. So
Yeah, so let's catch up here. You've got academic training in radio and TV, experience in radio, TV, music, advertising, marketing, public events. You're emceeing public events and things like that. Tell us, is there any? Tell us if there's anything else that you've done outside of those spaces that brought you to where you are today.
I'm trying to think.
As if that's not enough. Most people do one or two of those, and you've got a list of 7 or 8 so far. So
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I swear that.
sales, we forgot about sales.
Well, yep. Sales is not easy. And I vowed to not be one of those annoying salespeople, that I wanted to just be someone to help. Like I want to, and that's how I am in my business now. So I have my own advertising marketing agency, and I don't ever bother people or try to force something on them. Well, everybody's a salesperson for their own business, as you are, but you don't say, hey, you need to buy this, you need to upgrade, you need to, and just when you want to do it, you don't do that.
Right.
No,
I don't need to. I
No,
sleep
you
well
don't.
at night. Yeah.
Thank you. Same here. Like, here are some options. Here's your advertising budget. This is what I would recommend that you do. And if you want to do it, you let me know and I'll facilitate.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to, then that's okay with me.
And it's funny if you mention that. I think if you think about it, everybody is a sales person.
Yes.
Even if you're an IT person or if you're an accountant, you still have to represent yourself to other people and market yourself.
Yes.
You might not realize you're in sales. Everybody's in sales. If you're a single person in the dating world, you're selling your personality. You're selling
It's true.
hopefully your character and integrity, right?
Right.
And your place in life and your values and your future goals and things like that. I also think that everybody's a business owner. What is a business? Well, it has income. It has expenses, right? It has positive cash flow. Even if you have a 9-to-5 job, you have income, you have expenses. You have to have a car to get to work or whatever it might be, a computer, internet connection, cell phone, that kind of thing. So I think a lot of people would benefit from the idea that everybody's a salesperson and everybody's a business owner.
Right.
Even if you're just running work from home as a stay-at-home parent, electric bill, gas bill, internet, mortgage, all that stuff. You have revenue, you have expenses. Hopefully you have positive cash flow or profit. But I think a lot of people could benefit from that as opposed to just saying, well, I'm not in sales, so I couldn't learn from that. Or I'm not a small business owner or a CEO or some executive. I think you could still learn from that if you approach it that way.
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, any kind of business person, you need to have your LinkedIn profile up to snuff. That's what I tell everybody.
That's a perfect segue. Enough about your background. Let's talk about what you're doing now. How do you help people connect with their clients and potential clients, hopefully make themselves more profitable?
Well, you need to have your LinkedIn profile out. It is, if anybody is going to do business with you, they're going to check you out in several different ways. They're going to look you up on Google to see if you have ratings. If you don't, you need to get some.
Right.
And we have a friend that can help you with that, Brittany.
Reputation management. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that is all up to snuff and perfect.
Do you guys collaborate on that?
We do. I don't do Google. I do for a few clients. I manage their Google page and I respond to their reviews for them.
Okay.
But I usually, and I set that up for a few different clients, but Brittany is the one that she dives into it more than I do. So that she has expertise in that.
We'll go ahead and plug Brittany. It's Brittany Murphy with One Thing Marketing. She's great at what she does, website design,
yes,
and also the marketing piece.
Yeah, she is amazing.
Search engine optimization and so
yes.
forth. Let's back up one step. Tell us the name of your business, how long you've been in business, and give us the quick elevator speech of V Media Group.
Okay, V Media Group is my own company that I started about 4 years ago. And the reason I started it was because people were asking me for help. And I had somebody from our BNI group, our business networking group, reach out to me and say, "Hey, I've got this friend," and I'll just tell you the story. It's a paving company, and they back before people were having terrible employee shortages. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. They were having a job fair, and it's like, we need to hire some folks badly, so we're going to have a big job fair. And we need blue collar workers and in this area, and we need help in attracting them. What should we do? And so I said, I can absolutely help you with that. Yeah. So he had a nice budget.
So it was very organic in that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so
a lot of businesses start that way, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And so so we took his budget, and I said, I recommend that you run this ad on these stations, radio stations, and they were rock stations and country stations.
And he had a healthy budget.
He had a healthy budget.
And was he in it for the long haul? Because people don't realize in advertising, you need to give it at least a year and preferably 2 before you start, scrutinizing the results or not. So he was good budget and patient with the process.
Well, there are 2 different ways to do advertising. One of them is immediate action.
Okay.
So, which we have, and we need this and we need it now.
Right.
So you do it differently than if you want to do a long-term, just a brand building awareness advertising campaign.
Elaborate on that, because I haven't heard it explained that way before. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So if you listen to the radio, you will hear clients that you have heard for years, like Tom Drexler Plumbing.
Yeah.
And the Hammer.
That's right.
And they have
effective marketing campaigns, by the way.
Correct. They are. But they have a yearly budget that they spend, and they are on every single week somewhere.
Multiple stations,
yes,
multiple
either
platforms.
Billboards, TV, radio, magazines, whatever they're on.
Yeah.
So over and over and over. And that is called a brand awareness strategy.
Okay.
So you don't run as often, but you run consistently. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want something like they're having a job fair, the job fair is in 2 weeks. They want these people to come to their job fair. That's a totally different animal. You are going to barrage that station for 2 weeks. So you're going to run a heavier schedule.
Gotcha.
And you're going to make more. It's called frequency. Okay. In radio, there's 2 things, reach and frequency.
Okay.
And so frequency is the number of times they hear it. And reach is the number of...
the audience.
How many people.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 2 numbers you need to look at when you're placing a buy.
And what title did you give that first method? What'd you call that?
Action. I think I called it action.
Immediate action
immediate action. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's probably a better name, but that's what I call it.
And the second was more long-term branding, awareness.
Brand awareness.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we did the first one, and he had over 100 people come to his job fair.
Wow.
And he was absolutely thrilled.
How many was he expecting?
I don't think
maybe half that or something.
I don't even know.
Okay.
I just said I know this is going to work, and you know how we made it work too. Other thing we had to do, you have to make the message interesting, compelling.
Yeah.
So you know what we started off with?
What's that?
$1,000 sign-on bonus.
Oh,
that'll
first
perk
people up. Yeah.
That was the first thing we said in the commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a home. My voice is a little off today. I've got a little cold. I'm not going to even mention what it could be, but it's not because I tested negative.
Okay, good.
So But I have a home recording studio, so I can record the commercials right sitting at my desk, which is convenient.
Yeah.
So we started the
And you're
commercial
generating the
line.
content too, right? I
Yes.
mean, you're writing it, scripting it,
do.
executing it.
Yes.
You even do some audio editing and stuff too.
I do.
before you produce the final project or
Yes.
product. Okay.
Yep. And so $1,000 sign-on bonus.
Yeah. Got my
the-
attention.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and that's what I said. I said, we got to do something big. And so he was real pleased. And so then I had a few other people ask me, and I go, and then I had a mentor, and she started her own ad agency. And so she said, you need to start your own company.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know how to do that. I'm not. And she goes, I'll mentor you through the process.
Wow.
And she did.
Yeah.
And so, and that's another thing that you and we talked about all the different topics that we were going to discuss today.
Yeah.
Mentoring.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Let's be a mentor, and let's still have mentors. Do you have one? Did you have one? How did you?
Yeah, I've got several. I've been very fortunate in my professional career and my adult life to meet some really interesting, generous and kind with their time and support people that are also very successful, professional types, business owners, attorneys, doctors, executives, high level, high successful people. By the way, most of those folks have off the charts levels of integrity and character, and they try to live their lives being generous and kind, and also decent people. I think that needs to be said when we're talking about high level people, at least the ones that I've encountered. My mentor, I don't want to mention his name because he's a bit of a public personality, and he's kind of fading out of that now and kind of riding off to the sunset and retirement and so forth. But he had a retail professional operation in the optometry world, and took a little mom and pop shop and basically built an empire that I think had like 30 shops throughout the Southeast.
Wow.
and did really well, sold the company to a bigger company, and did very well. And he's always been so kind and generous with his time and his advice. And
How did you meet him?
it's interesting. So I'll give you a little backstory. I was selling computers at Best Buy in summer of 2004. And I had two people come in and buy some stuff for me that changed my life. The first lady's name was Cheryl, and I bet you know her. We'll talk about that more off. I don't want to out people in case they, what I'm saying, from a privacy standpoint, but we'll talk about that. She came and bought something from me, and she said, "This is great, but I don't have any idea how to set this up or install it. Can you help me?" And in the moment, I thought to myself, "Well, they told me I'd get fired if I do something like that."
Really?
Well,
Because
Best Buy,
they want you to hire their
Geek Squad or whatever it might be. And so I thought to myself, and in the moment I said, you know what? I can't do that. But here's my phone number. I like to make new friends. So that kind of got me around it. Best Buy, don't sue me now, please. And then from that contact, she was in the physical fitness space, among others. And one of her clients in that space was this person who grew this business and sold it. And another person was a family member of a very, very successful bank that was founded here in Louisville and later sold, and he and his family became very wealthy. And from those two encounters, selling computers at Best Buy, I saw an opportunity to work in people's homes to set up computers and networks and all that kind of stuff. Totally organic, just like yours. And as a matter of fact, I took a job later that year at Humana, by the way, a great company. Did a lot of good things for me and my coworkers. I don't have one negative thing to say about that company. Worked there for 3 years, 9 to 5. Wasn't really happy in that job. Wasn't a good fit for me. No reflection negatively on the company. But I just genuinely enjoyed working on computers and figuring them out and messing with them. So for the next 3 years while I had that job, nights and weekends, I was getting paid a little bit to do it, but primarily volunteering to do it for people I know, just to learn it because I thought it was fun.
Wow.
And I was fortunate enough to get fired from that job 3 years in. One of the best things that ever happened to me, by the way, because I had the courage to quit. And by that time, I was making enough money, nights and weekends,
your side gigs,
fixing computers to turn it into a full-time job. And here I am now. That was 2007, so we're 15 years ago.
Wow.
And here I am now, but it's completely organic. A, I thought it was fun. B, I was doing it for free. And C, some people found me randomly and were willing to hire me to do it, and I just parlayed it into what it is now.
Let me ask you this. How do you do continuing education with everything that's changing? How do you stay up on everything?
That's a great question. I would like to think that you could describe me in two ways, with two words: curious and persistent.
Oh,
Okay.
I love it.
So I'm
going
always
to write those down.
That is me in a nutshell. I would hope a third one would be like good character, high integrity.
Absolutely.
That's not for me to say. That's for the people who know me to say. Hopefully they will.
I will say it for you.
Well, thank you, and likewise. Thank you. And for me, it's I read several websites. Are you familiar with Reddit?
Oh, I am the biggest fan of that.
So are you subscribed to several subreddits and in areas you're interested in?
Of course I am.
Yeah, Reddit's awesome.
Is awesome. I've tried to tell so many people, and if you can't really explain it to somebody, you've got to just dive in and start looking at it.
Reddit is kind of like TV guides meets Reader's Digest for the internet, right?
Meets Encyclopedia Britannica.
There you go.
Sort of, because it's so varied. You can learn everything.
And you're not inundated with stuff you don't care about. If you subscribe to a subreddit, it shows up in your feed, and you only get topics you're interested in.
Correct.
And it curates some suggestions on some other things you might be interested in. But it's wonderful.
Love it.
I read a couple of tech blogs every day. I just check Reddit every day, 7 days a week. I'm always learning. One thing I've learned a lot about my industry and the things I'm interested in is I read the questions people post in those subreddits and also on forums.
Yes.
And most of the time, I don't have anything to contribute to that. Sometimes I do, and I'm happy to help people. Most of the time, I learn by reading other people's responses to the questions that are asked.
Yes. And do you screenshot it sometimes?
I sometimes do.
I do too.
You can save it and copy and paste the text and email it to yourself. There's lots.
Yes.
Certainly. And knock on wood, for now, I still have pretty good memory and retention for that kind of stuff. So a lot of it just stays up here.
Sure.
And so that's one way. And then just the organic, natural education I'm always getting in real time by executing my business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I tell people one of the great things about having a small business is you get paid to learn.
Yes.
What a privilege that is, right?
Absolutely.
I go get paid a nice hourly rate or a contract rate to learn something I can then go sell to other people and make more money on and learn more and so forth and so on.
Right. And you're not selling to them, David. You're helping them.
I'm making suggestions and I'm helping them, yeah.
You're making their lives easier because you've fixed their problem.
I hope so. That's my goal. And I think Zig Ziglar said something to the effect of, you can get everything you want in life if you just help enough people get what they want in life. And so,
wow, that's a good way to say it.
Both professionally and personally, right? That translates beyond just helping people fix their router or increase the speed of their computer or replace or upgrade their equipment. Personally, you can take time to mentor other folks, like you mentioned, provide an example for other people. You know, one thing without getting political here, I think it's really sad that probably tens of millions or more people in this country are convinced that the game is rigged against them. There's no opportunity. Everybody who got there did so being successful by ripping people off, or their parents handed it to them, or they know somebody who knows somebody that it got them this inside deal.
Not true.
It's not true. Some folks do it that way, but like 80% don't. They work hard. They live below their means. They educate themselves. They try to do good in their community. And they look up 20, 30, 40 years later, and they have a nice net worth and an established career and hopefully a family, if that's important to you. And that's how they get there. And that's the path I want to follow. And I want to be an example. I didn't grow up in the West End in abject poverty. I didn't experience racism and sexism being a white male. But I had to borrow I chose to borrow my way through college. My parents didn't pay for it. And it took me 10 years to pay off those student loans, but I did that.
Good for you.
Thank you. And I'm an example of somebody who came from the lower middle class and built something.
Yeah.
And
that's wonderful.
It's important for people to hear that. And that's a big part of this podcast, and also the mission behind something we'll talk about a little later on, mine and my wife's nonprofit called See Good to Be Good. But I want people to know you can still do it.
Yes.
And people are going to experience things that I don't experience. You being a woman, for example, you've probably been harassed in the workplace, or
I have.
There you go. Yeah.
Of course I have.
Probably more than you'd like to talk about, right?
Yes, but you know what? For some
Didn't
reason,
stop you?
No, for some reason I became really, and I still am, good at diffusing it. Diffusing it in a non aggressive way.
And you're conflict averse anyways, right? You don't want to have any.
Oh, I am.
Everybody just get
so
along.
Conflict.
Let's play guitar and sing
It's
some
like,
songs. Yeah.
The piece. I'm Switzerland.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I do not like conflict. I walk away from it. I become quiet and leave. Yeah. I don't want to get in on it. No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah.
One thing that you brought up that I don't know what you were saying that segued into made me think about this, but giving back and mentoring people. One of the things that I've done with my company is I've had interns. Have you had any interns?
That's an interesting question. I do actually. My wife's first cousin's son. His name is also David. You might have met him. I brought him to the BNI meeting once. Okay.
Yes, he ran the computer for you.
The kid is a bona fide genius. In a world where everybody's a genius and the word doesn't mean anything, he's an actual genius. Like he will have his choice between Yale, Harvard, MIT, whatever he chooses to do. He's already skipped a grade. He's at collegiate. Thankfully for him, he won the lottery. His parents have a lot of financial resources and connections. They've hired him personal chemistry and physics professors to teach him on the side. Yeah, and the kid is insatiable.
I would like to make a recommendation that he get a college planner. Are you familiar with that?
I am familiar with it vaguely, and I'll take your advice on that and suggest it. Absolutely.
Yes, and I have a lady. I think she may be getting ready to retire, but she will pass him to someone else that she recommends.
Thank you.
I got that from my daughter, and it made all the difference in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your daughter's a shining example of Ivy League education and hard work. And
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got off on a bit of a tangent there, but his name's David, and he interned with us during his summer break last year.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I admire him, and was very grateful for the opportunity to learn and worked hard, and I wrote him a letter on my letterhead explaining all that and singing his praises. And he's actually collaborating with me now with a project for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Meg found a girl that's sick and wants her own gaming computer, so they approved the budget for it. And David and I are going to source the parts at our cost and volunteer the labor to build it and get it ready for her.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And that'll go on his college resume too. A letter from Make-A-Wish saying he helped grant a wish to a sick child, which is nice.
Oh, that's so good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He needs to hopefully already have a resume. He should already have a resume.
I'm sure he does.
Keeping all this on there.
I'm pretty sure his parents are very involved.
Good.
But I'll mention all those things to him. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and the nonprofit, that's the best ever to put on there. He's got to have that on there.
Absolutely.
A lot of nonprofit work. That's awesome.
And for those not as acquainted with each other as we are, or us as we are, let's mention some real quick. We're both involved in a professional networking group called BNI. So if you hear us mention people like Brittany Murphy or Meg Vogt, those are members of that group, and we like to do business with people we know and like, and fortunately that's true for the people in our group. So BNI is networking on steroids.
It is.
If you want to grow your business or your profession, come talk to us about that. I just want to throw that out there in case people listening didn't know the context there.
Right.
So we had the intern, David. We talked about him. Have you had any interns?
I have. Oh my gosh,
like?
They've been great. They've been like a friend of my friend's daughters.
Are these college students or?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I did, when I was on the air, I had a couple of students that would come and sit with me when I was a radio personality, and they would just sit with me like a couple hours a day, and then they would ask me questions, and they would write a report about it. But then I did have two college girls that were, one of them was high school and one of them was college, and they were wanting to do a marketing internship. So their parents called me, can you let my daughter be your intern? I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
So unpaid help.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
So they were amazing. Just a couple hours a day. Or
did it make you more productive too by offloading some of your tasks?
Yes.
Oh, great.
And these young people are so much faster
at
everything. So I was making, Facebook videos and different things for my clients, and they were learning it faster than me.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, this is how you do it, and before I knew it, they were doing it just so much faster. So it was wonderful. And then I wrote them the letters, for their schools and recommended them, and it was great. And that's just a way for us to give back too. Love it.
And it helps you, right? It goes back and forth. Yeah.
It goes on their resumes.
Okay, great. Well, anything else you want us to know about V Media Group? What's a great referral? How can you help people grow their business?
Yeah.
Let's do a kind of a bullet point list of the services you offer.
Okay.
Advertising, that's radio, TV, internet, all that stuff.
Right.
Talk about all that stuff. Just kind of break down a few of the many things that you can offer your client to grow their business.
Okay. Well, because of my background, I'm just really familiar with the whole way that the radio, TV, billboards, print, the way it works, and the best way to get your message across, what you're trying to say, whether you're trying to make an immediate response or a long-term branding, those kinds of things. Just for instance, one of the things that I'm doing this week is I have a client, Ace Hardware. Might as well give a little shout out to my client. It's family owned. They have several locations, and the father runs one or two of the stores, and then his sons run some of the other stores. Well, the one that I've been working closely with is Ace Hardware in St. Matthews on Shelbyville Road, and they are wanting to they just opened last year, so they're wanting to get a little bit more aggressive in their marketing. So I came up with a plan for them to be in St. Matthews Magazine, and I got them, they're also going to write a feature story about them and their history. And then they're also going to be I've got them the cover of the St. Matthews Magazine. So that's going to be cool.
Now, are you generating content for this piece for them and interview? Okay.
Yes. I'm going to help them write it, and I'm going to get the pictures together and be with them. I'm going to carry them down the road for this whole little journey.
Kind of hold their hand through the process. And
Absolutely.
You connected them.
Yes.
And I'm assuming for a business owner, it's fairly affordable.
It is. Yeah. It is. Yes. And they're signing up for a whole year. So they're running in the magazine for a whole year, but that's going to be really good. And in conjunction with that, we're doing several Facebook posts a week. And I go out and take photos of their product and make a little video and put music behind it. And if it's snowing, we put snow on the video and put snow shovels.
Yeah, real quick, we're kind of dovetailing into modern forms of tech-based advertising. What you talked about briefly a minute ago was traditional forms of advertising.
Right.
Let's talk about the new digital forms of advertising, social media, et cetera. Talk about that.
Well, it's crazy. And not only do you have to put your brand out there, you have to do it creatively. If you're just going to write a little blurb every week and say something, it's not enough. You've got to use videos. You've got to get creative.
Video's huge, right?
Yes.
Talk about that. YouTube, Facebook, whatever it might be.
Yes. Okay, so we were just talking about Beth. She's in our business networking group.
Plug Beth.
Yes. Beth Amlung, Rodan and Fields.
Yes, life-changing skincare.
Life-changing skincare. I get her eyelash serum, and I must say I love it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So I was just giving her some ideas and some inspiration. I'm like, okay, what about if we have your daughter putting some makeup on your face? Let's start the video with she puts her finger in the jar and she's got the cream on her face and she's going to apply it. Yeah. It's so easy, even my daughter can do it. And then what about you have your bottles of serum on the table and you ask your dog to pick one. I said, can you train your dog to point? And she goes, yeah.
People love animal videos.
Animals and kids.
Yeah.
Those are the two main things that people love to watch. So incorporate those into your videos. Make them fun.
Personalized,
put music.
interesting.
Yeah.
Cute goes a long way, right?
Cute and fun. Yeah. Entertaining.
I think something needs to be said here. You're not just a marketing person. You're going to generate the content.
That's it.
Do the creative piece. Like I would have never thought to have a dog, pointing out various products for a skincare company.
Yeah.
But that's great. I think the value that you add for your clients, you're a fraction of the cost it would take if they hired a creative person to write it,
Right.
a professional videographer,
Right.
a professional voiceover person, a social media person. You do all that in one. I would think the value you're providing to your clients, it's probably 5 to 10 fold what they would pay for a so-called, established marketing company to do all that for you with a specific person in each of those places. You're giving your clients all of that.
Well, thank you.
I would think it's a great value.
Thank you so much. I love it. I love doing it. And another thing I did, I think I mentioned this last week. There was a woman that came to our business networking group. Her name is Selma. She's got a house cleaning service. I believe it's called Green Cleaning Services. I can't
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So she was wonderful. She is an immigrant from Angola, Africa.
Yeah, I remember her now.
Yeah. And she was so nice. And she wrote a book called Making It Big in America.
Oh.
Okay. And so she came to me after hearing me speak and saying, I want you to help me. So her English is fine.
Yeah.
But it's hard for her to.
The accent's kind of strong.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard for her to put forth what she wants to do to help sell her book. So I said, you need to have an event. You need to have a book launch. You need to have an event. And then with an event, we can write a press release for you.
And so now she's a client. You're in the process of doing that?
Yeah, I already did.
Wow. Oh,
so,
great.
Yeah. So I wrote her the press release, and I have a press release list of my contacts with all the radio and TV and magazine folks around the area. And I got her a spot on the NBC affiliate. She was on Don G's show yesterday.
So not just the experience and the know-how to do that, you have the connections once you generate all that content to plug it in and get it promoted and exposed. That's awesome.
Yeah, so she was on, and I went and we did a little video of her holding her book and inviting people to join her at her book launch party. And so she put that on social media, and she was on Don G's show yesterday with her book.
I think we can't underestimate or understate the number of services that you offer. You are a full service, one-stop shop. Hold their hand if they need you to, from start to finish.
Thank you.
I mean, concept to completion.
Thank you.
Right?
Well, yes, thank you. And you do the same, because you can not only do, and I didn't even know, I sort of knew that you did the TV and the speakers and the sound systems, but I didn't know to the extent that you can do all that.
I kind of got started when I was a teenager. I was into stereos and TVs. I wasn't into computers. That's how I kind of got started. And in today's world, if you can do IT work, audio, video, and that stuff is easy comparatively. You know what I'm saying?
I need you.
Yeah, I need you. It's a great country. We all need each other.
I know. I've got speakers and things that don't work right.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how to do any of it.
Yeah, I'd love to help you with that. One thing I want you to touch on, you haven't talked much about, talk about social media posting for a client on their behalf, because that's a big deal. A lot of people don't have time or don't want to go on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram every day and generate content to interact with their audience. Talk about your service and how you help people with that.
Okay.
You'll do it all for them, right?
I will.
Yeah.
I come up with ideas. I make the videos. I write the content, and they make me an admin, which, you have to have trust.
Yeah.
You're going to make somebody, I'm an admin.
Trusted access.
I know. I've got 11 people that I'm admin for.
Oh, wow. Do you have a long password and username list and all that kind of stuff?
No, they're, once you log in, they
you're
stay,
good. Okay,
they stay open.
Yeah.
So it's easy.
Okay.
So it's just, I have to get into the mindset of, okay, let's see, like Advanced Steamway, Emmerich Services.
Yeah.
Okay. I still do theirs. So I'm thinking, let's see, carpet cleaning. What can I think of today that, what would people want to, what would get their attention for carpet cleaning? Well, it's cold. You're indoors all the time. You probably haven't cleaned your carpets since the holidays. Kind of gross. Now's a good time to do it. I'm trying to think on their subject, and I find the photos, I develop the videos, I sometimes do voiceovers with it, and I post it for them. I do all of it, and then I charge an hourly fee. So, and
you can post for them once a week if they'd like, or
I usually do once a week, sometimes twice, depending on if they want to.
Because you don't want to saturate people.
No,
with that.
people get tired of it.
They'll tune you out, right? If there's too
Exactly.
much of it. Okay.
Right. And then if you want to specifically get a little bit more attention, like for instance, that client they were also hiring. So he's like, I really need to boost this. I want to, get some water technicians. So I did that for him, and I boosted his ad for him for a week, and he got 8 resumes.
Wow.
How about that?
Outstanding.
So he was excited.
Yeah.
So once again, we started with a sign-on bonus.
And the moral of the story is interact with the public, curate your own audience, and interact with them, give them repeated compelling content.
Yep.
So you stay fresh in their mind and so forth.
Right.
And hopefully that'll ultimately lead to more business.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it from so many different ways. Traditional platforms, modern digital platforms, start to finish. It's pretty impressive what you've done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have you ever thought of, speaking of Reddit, have you ever thought of doing an Ask Me Anything?
An AMA, those are really important. Yeah, I need to
do that.
I need to figure out what direction I want the rest of my life to look like. I'm very grateful for Reliable Tech Help and the life and the lifestyle and the ability to provide for my family that it's given me. But if I'm completely honest, I'm not head over heels in love with it. It's really nice, and I'm grateful for it. I think that's a great question, by the way, because it segues into something else we want to talk about. I think I have a unique voice, and I think I have some things to say about a lot of things, culture, lose my train of thought here, technology, even some things about politics that I'd like to get out there. And I think there's some people out there that might find it compelling. I got to figure out what that looks like moving forward. So the podcast was a nice way to kind of get my feet wet with that, build more of an online awareness of myself. And maybe, who knows, maybe I'll be a podcaster. I don't know what, I'm feeling that out right now. You know what I'm saying? But I don't feel the need to actively promote and grow Reliable Tech Help. It's 17 years in, it runs itself kind of thing. And it gives me enough freedom and enough flexibility and time to pursue the other things that I'm, more passionate about.
Playing your guitar?
That's part of it. Absolutely. There's a lot of things, right? Yeah. My
Yes.
family at the top of that list, my wife and my son. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm figuring out right now. And so that segues nicely into
Your nonprofit.
the nonprofit that my wife and I started.
And tell us the name of it.
The name of it is See Good to Be Good. And the motivation for it came from one day I was thinking about, and not in a judgmental way, just in a factual way, how I see a lot of people just kind of going through the motions of life, going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, and kind of just not doing a lot beyond just kind of existing, you know? And you see on the more extreme side of that, people who are wasting their lives with drug abuse, gambling, abusive relationships, managing life, one crisis to the next, that kind of thing. It just really hit me. I was like, why are all these people wasting precious opportunity? And particularly in this country, there's so much opportunity out there. If you do a good job and you treat people right, you can make a nice life for yourself and your family. And it occurred to me when I was thinking about it, I said, these people, to be good, they have to see good. They have to see good being done in the form of someone like yourself who's professionally successful and or also in your case, personally successful in their family lives, their friends, and in the community and what they're doing. And so the inspiration for that nonprofit organization was to get people who are professionally successful and or personally successful by giving back to their community. That could be a lot of different things. Like you mentioned earlier, interning. I think that what I've done in my life to this point has prepared me to show other people that you can do something. You can simultaneously make a nice living and do something that's rewarding and that you're passionate about. A lot of people have given up on that idea. And I just want to get folks in front of people like that, primarily young adults, maybe children too, and just give them an example of somebody who pulled it off and have that person explain how they did it, you know? So would you like to comment on how you accomplished success both in your professional endeavors, your career, and also in your personal life, an example of how you've given back to your community?
I feel like I've given back to my community by highlighting these nonprofit organizations for which I volunteer and am sort of a spokesperson for.
Plug a couple of those for
I will.
Yeah. Don't have to tell you twice.
That's exactly right. One of them is called CHOICE, and it is an acronym for Children Have Options in Choosing Experiences.
Oh.
So it's kind of an interesting name. It doesn't really say what they do, but they are an early intervention mentoring program for at-risk youth. For kiddos that come from struggling families, and in some of the West End and South schools, have the guidance counselors recommend these kids that are troubled.
Sign me up. I want to be involved.
They are so awesome, and they're a little teeny organization, but they are so near and dear to my heart. They are doing the most wonderful things to help these kids, and they've been doing it for years. And thank you.
Yeah.
I
volunteer. I want to be involved and learn more about it.
So amazing. And so look it up. It's choice.org, or maybe it's choicelouisville.org. I think so. But you can go to their website and see what they're doing. They're wonderful. They're wonderful. Then there's another one called OAK, Ovarian Awareness of Kentucky. They are an early, they educate women on the signs of ovarian and gynecological cancers. And they're here to educate. So they support and they educate. They work well with Gilda's Club, which is the cancer. They're in the same building.
Doing great work.
They're doing such great things. And they go to these doctors, these young doctors and nurses, and they bring the ladies that had the cancer, and they tell the doctors what signs to look for.
Do you have a personal connection to that, or did you lose someone?
No, I've been emceeing their events for about 17 years.
Okay.
And I love these ladies. They're so wonderful. And they have a survivors brunch, which I MC every year. And they have events all year long. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
I just love these smaller organizations that are doing big, big things.
Okay.
It's just a few of them.
Yeah. And that's such a great way to give back. You know, one thing I tell people is some folks experience success, and I look at that as kind of climbing a ladder out of a hole, you know. Some folks experience success and they look down like, oh yeah, Joe's a few rungs below me. And they almost kind of detest that person, or, you know, that person's below me on the success ladder because they didn't work hard enough or whatever. And I'm like, every rung of success that I climb higher on the ladder, I feel an increasing obligation to look down and say, oh,
thank you.
Joe needs a hand up.
So do I.
Yeah, let me reach down and pull him up. And by the way, there's people I know in my life that are further up the rung of the ladder of success, that reached down and pulled me up. They didn't judge me. They didn't say, well, you're lazy, or, you know, you're not working hard enough, or whatever it might be. And every rung I climb, the obligation I feel to help folks climb their ladder increases.
Yes.
And so that's why I felt this overwhelming sense of obligation and purpose to start this nonprofit. I tried initially by trying to align myself with some already existing nonprofits, and for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. So one day I said, you know what? I'll just start my own.
Well, how can people help you?
Well, I'm not asking for your money.
Okay.
I'm no fool. If you want to donate money to the cause, I'll cash the check and put it in the account. I want your time. How can people help? You're doing it right now. We're talking about it in this podcast.
Is it seegoodtobegood.org?
It is.
Good.
Yeah, and also .com, but yes.
Okay.
seegoodtobegood.com and .org were both available, which was nice.
Excellent.
Yep, and so either one will get you there. And we don't have a website yet, but we're going to. And we just want to get started getting people like yourself in front of folks who might be lost in life or looking for purpose, or just starting out after high school or college and don't know where to go. They need to see somebody doing good to inspire themselves to do it, you know?
Yes.
And I just think in a society where the media in particular demonizes people and only focuses on what goes wrong, I want examples of people that things are going right for them, or they're doing good in the community. People need that. I needed that. I wish I had somebody at that age to come in and say, hey, you don't have to live in mediocrity. You don't have to feel that the game is rigged against you. There's plenty of opportunity out there. Here's me. I did it. Let me explain to you some ways in which I accomplished it.
Maybe you should have a hero of the month.
I'm open. You are. Yeah, you
Or
are
a spotlight of the month. You know,
you're just full of ideas.
Yeah.
And I'm a blank canvas right now. So.
Yeah, and you can pull in some of these other organizations.
Yeah,
and talk to them. And
I'll mention a book you may or may not be familiar with. Are you familiar with The Secret?
I think I've heard of it, but
You need to read it. It's an easy read. You can knock it out in like an hour or two.
Okay.
The basis of the book, if I remember correctly, the author's name is Rhonda Byrne, and it gained a lot of traction about 10 or 15 years ago. Oprah was a big supporter.
Seems like I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah, and the idea was she found herself at a crossroads kind of midway through life, and I think she had a marriage that failed, and her career wasn't where she wanted it to be. And she realized one day that she had pretty much attracted all this stuff into her life by negative thinking and bad decision making and so forth. Mm-hmm. And then she started realizing by reading quotes by successful people and historical figures like Henry Ford, and I think Roosevelt had one of the quotes. She realized that most of the things that are in our lives, good or bad, we attracted one way or another.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and so the purpose of the book is The Secret is the Law of Attraction. Mm-hmm. The title of the book is The Secret. It's about the law of attraction. And she says the universe will give you what you think about, and the universe doesn't know the difference between good or bad. If you think about something, you're going to attract it into your life. If you think about being sad and alone and depressed, you're going to be sad and alone and depressed. If you think about being happy and having a rewarding life and a professional career and that kind of thing, you'll make it happen.
I love it.
One of the quotes from the book is, thoughts become things.
Yes, I've heard that one.
Okay.
Yes.
And then a quote in the book, what's nice is all throughout the book, she has quotes from people all throughout history and different backgrounds that understood the secret. And the one that stuck with me was Henry Ford said, whether you think you are right, whether you think you can or you think you cannot, you're always right.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
And so that's kind of the idea behind what we're doing here. We want to give people examples of people being successful and doing good in their community, so that they can be inspired to do the same thing and know that it's still a possibility and they're capable of doing it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
No, I'm in. You're in?
Okay, good. Yeah. I'm in. We're in. Again.
You're going to help me with See Good to Be Good, and I'm going to help you with Choice.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Well, great.
Okay.
It's about time to wrap things up here. Was there anything else you wanted to say about yourself or how people can find you?
They can find me at Vicki at vmediagroup.net is my email address.
Okay, I'm assuming that's also your website?
It is vmediagroup.net.
Okay,
yes.
And are you on social? Tell us your social channels.
I am on social. Vicki Vile Rogers is my personal. And, I should know my Twitter and my Instagrams, but I don't. I can't say exactly what they are. Find me on Facebook.
Go to social platforms and type in V Media Group.
You go.
You'll find her.
You'll find me.
Awesome. And
and how can folks reach you?
David at reliabletechhelp.com, reliabletech, T-E-K, help, H-E-L-P.com. Our website's reliabletechhelp.com. Our phone number is 502-797-7399, and we're peppered throughout social media as well. Give people your phone number.
502-548-4494. And let me just tell you, if you need a tech person, he's the man. He's my tech person. And you've always been my hero when I need you the most. Oh, no, my computer won't work. My phone's frozen up. What do I do? What do I do? And you always talk me through it and talk me off the cliff and fix it remotely most times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. Appreciate your business and your friendship.
Yeah.
And thanks for doing the show. You're the inaugural guest.
I feel so honored.
On the inaugural episode of the Respect the Math podcast. We'll be back next time with another interesting guest. So thanks.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks,
All right.
David.
Thanks. Mm-hmm.